So, hi everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Ambassador Spotlights. I'm here with Emily Criddle. Um, she is amazing, someone I've gotten to know a little bit over the years and hopefully get to know a little bit more today. Emily, I'm going to read off your letters here. We were just talking about this, but I want you to kind of explain them to everyone, but I want to give you like a proper introduction. Emily Criddle is an IHP3M. HPH. I know what the first two mean, but then the rest of them I'm going to leave up to you. MBSRP, HHC, and IFZP. So maybe just take a moment to introduce yourself, maybe explain your qualifications for anyone in the community who isn't familiar with you.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. My name's Emily Criddle, and I am a person with a few letters behind my name because that's how my health story unfolded. I have a business degree, but these letters followed as I needed more help and more answers in lots of modalities. So I am a level 3 practitioner. I completed mastery and high performance health. I am a Centurion practitioner and a holistic health coach. The MBSR is mind, body, spirit release, and
Okay.
that's a modality that I use as well. Um, IFZP is an integrative foot zoner practitioner, and that's a new certification for me as well this year.
Awesome.
I'm
Okay.
also a faster way to fat loss coach. So
Oh, really? Okay,
no
I missed
letters
that
there, but
one.
that's part of my certifications.
Yeah, no, that's great. We have a bunch of ambassadors who are uh, part of the Faster Way program, so that's awesome. The IHP3, did you just graduate? I think was it the first class like last July or last month, I guess. I'm gonna date this, but it would have been last month, right?
Yeah, yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, we
awesome. So
wrapped
you
up
were
our
you were the
first.
inaugural class then.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's super exciting. So can you tell me a little bit about like how you got started in integrative health? Most people have some sort of story. I know you do kind of. I'll let you decide what you want to share, but yeah, just let everyone know how you got started and how you got interested in this area. Because you had a
Okay.
business degree, so obviously you weren't starting there initially, right?
No, I didn't set out to be a health practitioner in any way. Um, my life and story has brought me to this. So it's kind of a long story, and I'll try to condense it. But I also feel like by sharing more of my story, you'll understand more of what I do and how I do it now,
Sure.
uh, and how things have unfolded for my business too. So I was a kid that got sick. And by the time I was 16, I was having more significant health issues. I say that my journey started, my illness started about the time I was 16. Doctors thought I had mono. I just knew I was too tired to get out of bed. And that's where it started. And then from there, I rode the roller coaster of autoimmune conditions for the next 25 years. Um, I had lots of ups and downs throughout that journey, and I saw lots of doctors and lots of natural health people as well. I was mixing both worlds for a long while, trying to find things that could bring relief. I went to college, my hair all fell out. Um, I had multiple symptoms, lots of gut issues, headaches, lots of pain, lots of fatigue. Um, it just was one hard on top of another hard, and I would get a little bit better, but then I'd stay a lot sick. And that's how the journey progressed. But through it all, somehow I got a college degree, graduated from high school, got a college degree. I even got married. And by the time I'd been married for about a year, I was um, dropping plates, just walking across the kitchen. Didn't have strength to do that. My parents came to our home out of state for Thanksgiving, and I was too weak to lift a 9 by 13 pan out of my kitchen cupboard. And that's when my mom was really concerned. We had lots of reason to be concerned. I weighed about 94 pounds and was severely anemic. I looked and felt really, really sick. I had lots of doctors. I actually saw more than 100 doctors in that first year that we were married,
Um,
and none of them knew quite what to do with me. My labs weren't terrible, but they weren't great. And
those are
I,
conventional medicine labs?
mhm,
Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
not
Right.
not like huge red flags
Right.
in the things that they were checking at the time. And so just before Christmas of that same year of Thanksgiving, right? Um, I had a doctor that met with me and he just said, Emily, I would put you in the hospital if I knew what else to do for you. You are really, really failing. And I agreed. I was failing. Um, and so he instead took his lab sheet and instead of circling the little numbers to the left, he just highlighted the entire page. And so I went to the lab and had my blood drawn. And as they were drawing it from this already very anemic, very, very pale body, um, they were trying to figure out, it was all the people at the lab trying to figure out how many things that they could combine into one vial to just test it, you know, get the information they needed with the least amount of blood. And
Sure. Yeah.
ended up all in a big mess for a bit. They ended up taking 23 vials of blood.
Wow.
And I received a phone call from the nurse wanting to schedule with the doctor. And she said, I'm not really supposed to say anything, but it looks like you might have celiac disease. And well, that was not really very conventional, but she was
Yeah.
trying to give me hope.
Right.
And so I was diagnosed at that time with atypical celiac. The test that would have confirmed celiac more diagnostically now didn't even exist for 10 years after that.
Mhm.
So
Got
I
it.
was I was a little bit of a pioneer in that
Yeah. Yeah.
discovery. Turns out your symptoms can look different for celiac. It doesn't have to fit what the textbook used to say. Um, and I didn't fit any textbook. That's the problem, right? I
Right.
just didn't even get the disease right. So how
Yeah.
could
If
they
you had
treat
fit
me
a
right?
textbook, they would have treated you and it would have been on your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So celiac disease was added to a list of diagnoses that I already had, and I went gluten-free and I started to get a little bit better. It wasn't great though. It was just a little bit better. And they knew at that time that my liver enzymes were super bad. Um, so I ended up spending about 6 months working with doctors at the Mayo Clinic and adding natural things in as I felt good about that too. So
Was
there
that
was a
in
lot
Minnesota?
of learning. No, I was in Arizona at the
Oh,
time.
okay. Okay. I know
So
there's a big one in Minnesota. I was just curious.
yes,
Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
So up in Scottsdale, and it's a
Okay.
lovely place. And I got to the end of that treatment, and they decided, well, you don't need a liver transplant after all. So that's good news, but
Yeah.
you're probably going to stay sick. It was
Yeah,
basically
right.
the answer. And so I asked the endocrinologist as I was leaving in my exit visit. I just said, I need someone who knows a lot about autoimmune conditions and gut health. Who is that person? Who is the best doctor you know of, or we could find that
Mhm.
could help me to live this lifestyle and in this body that's struggling? Like, how can I do this the best? And at that time, he gave me an answer that I didn't like at all. He just said, well, to tell you the truth, you're the one that's going to live it day in and day out. You are the one in your body, and you will become the expert. You will know more about this than anybody else or any doctor I could refer you to, basically, is what
Hmm.
he said. And I thought, well, that's really crummy.
Yeah.
Like, there's not even a doctor that can help me. And and yet I'd proven to myself over the last several years that really there isn't one doctor that can help me.
Yeah,
And
that ends up being the case for most people. Even
yeah,
if they don't have severe health issues, that you end up knowing your body best.
yeah,
Even though at the time it probably wasn't what you wanted to hear, especially after going through everything you went through, right?
yep, exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So yeah, so months passed from that and I did get better. like to an extent, right? And managed life the best I could. And my husband and I wanted a family. And of course, my body was deficient and toxic. I didn't know that it was toxic at that time. I just knew it
Sure.
was really depleted. And it wasn't going to matter how many vitamins or minerals I added, I was still depleted.
Hmm.
And things had taken a toll on my body. Um, we were told that having children of our own was medically impossible. And I didn't like that answer either.
Mm.
So I dug deep and researched, and we have four miracle babies. I have
Yeah,
four
that
kids.
that was the part of your story that I knew.
Yeah.
That's like that's so amazing because you would think just having one would be, after
Hmm.
being told medically impossible, and then you end up having a child would be is amazing in of itself.
Yep.
But I remember when I heard your story for the first time, it was like I had four, and I was like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. You know,
Yeah.
it was
It
like
really is, even for
it was like
me.
feast or famine type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They all came with their own health story, their own experience through pregnancy and postpartum. All of it's a
Sure,
story. None of them came easily. Um, there was there's a lot of challenge and learning.
sure.
I often will say my kids are my best teachers and my hardest clients. And even like that before they were born.
Wow.
But I fought for them and I studied and learned so much. And I knew from that experience, especially, that our bodies want to be well and our bodies can do hard things. They can do even the impossible if we give them the tools they need, right?
Right, right.
So that was part of my journey and learning. I then had kids that were sick and they came with their own set of symptoms and autoimmune conditions because these things happen. Um, and now I know that a lot of that was mold illness,
Okay.
that I was fighting mold that was old. And turns out we'd been living in it. We were
Yep.
living in it all together. So there's a whole lot more of that journey. But when my oldest son was in middle school and my youngest son was 2 years old, I was bedridden for a whole year.
Wow.
I was too tired to do anything in an upright position, as I say it. I just lived a horizontal life. I went from the couch to the bed, and that's as functional as I was. I didn't drive. I didn't leave home. We just survived. And when I look back on that time, I wonder, how did we even do that?
Yeah.
But we just do. Um, and that's what a lot of our clients are facing too. Like they just are surviving, they're just getting by, they're doing the best they can with what they have. And I was seeing lots of doctors and I was doing lots of natural things, and um, it just wasn't coming together in all the ways I'd hoped.
Sure.
And so at towards the end of that year, I was told by Western medicine, Emily, we don't know. We don't know what else to do for you, but you are suffering. Here is a referral to the pain clinic and consider getting yourself a wheelchair.
Really.
Yep. And I was in my mid 30s and I thought, I don't want to be the mom on painkillers.
Yeah.
Moms on painkillers aren't nice.
Yeah.
Livers
Yeah.
aren't happy. I don't think my liver can handle more
Right,
painkillers.
right.
That's not a good option for me. And yet the wheelchair felt like a good option. For whatever reason, I felt like, well, that will give me some freedom. And my biggest goals at that time were to go to my son's middle school basketball games and show up to church. I hadn't been to either one in a long time. And I but I was in a body that didn't look or feel like me.
Sure.
And so I decided maybe an outfit will change my life. Okay, you guys, these were my biggest goals. So just an outfit, like that could feel and look more like me. And then if I went somewhere in a wheelchair, it would be okay.
Hmm.
Anyway, that's where I was at. And I reached out and started following this cute mom who was blogging about fashion, and I found a cute outfit. But in the process, I also found this little community and they were doing a weight loss challenge. And I thought, well, I could join in. I didn't have a lot of weight to lose. I was mostly just puffy and inflamed,
Hmm.
but I thought it might work for me. So I joined, and sure enough, it didn't work for me. And the person that was running it said, Emily, I really think you need to talk to this doctor on our board. His name is Stephen Cabral, and you should just talk to him. And I thought, okay. And like I had done with lots of doctors' names for lots of years, I just wrote it down.
Hmm.
And eventually I looked it up and I learned a little bit about Dr. Stephen Cabral. And I learned that he'd written a book called The Rain Barrel Effect. And I ordered it on Amazon
Yeah.
and I started reading it. And then I found myself reading it out loud to my kids and my family, like, hey, you guys, this doctor was sick like me and like us, and he got better.
Hmm.
So there has to be a better ending to our story. Let's rewrite this. And in that book, of course, he writes about the big five labs. And that just seemed like a lot of money for
Yeah.
things that I'd already tested. Like, haven't we run all the tests over and
Sure.
over? And I really had run a lot of tests. But as we know in this community, functional labs are different, and the information that I received was life-changing. So I still remember the day that I dropped off my result or my labs to send them off.
Yep.
And I literally sent them with tears and a prayer. Like, it's this or it's a wheelchair. If there's any answer to be had, this is the time. Like, please help us find it. And then it became full circle as I was part of the Centurion program earlier this year. Julia Hayes taught those classes.
Yep.
Julia Hayes was my first integrative health practitioner. She is the one that met with me over Skype
Oh, read
just
your labs.
after sitting with Dr. Cabral in his Boston clinic.
Yeah, yeah. She's been with us for a long time. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And for those of us who know Julia now, know that it wouldn't be shocking for her to cry.
Yeah.
But when I first met her and when she first came on to the Skype meeting, she was crying. She had the results of my lab and she was crying. And I thought, this isn't a good sign. And her first words were, Emily, I don't know how you're doing this. And I said, well, like doing what? And she said, well, like living. And I said, well, I really stink at it, to tell you the truth. I'm really bad at it. I'm too sick to live and I'm not sick enough to die. And there's a lot of hard in between. And she, with tears just down her face, she said, but Emily, we can fix this. And I thought, well, you are more confident than a lot of people I've talked to. So tell me how to fix
Yeah.
it. And we went through my labs and we started on protocols, and I did a 21-day detox and I ordered a sauna and I started to do all the things. And sure enough, my body was more toxic than I knew. And by cleaning that out and still helping with the deficiencies, I was getting better and better.
Wow.
So weeks that followed, months that followed, I met with Julia again. And I said, this is amazing. Like, you've truly given me my life back. I was out of my bed. I was functioning. I was the mom that I wanted to be and the wife I wanted to be. And I just said, you've just given my family their mom and their wife back. And I'm so grateful. Um, but then I asked her, but what do I do when I crash? When this all falls apart again, like it has for all
Right,
of the
right.
years prior, what do I do when I crash? And she said, oh, you won't crash. You'll be fine. And I thought, well,
You're waiting for the
you
other shoe to
haven't been
drop.
in my body. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
You're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah,
You start
exactly.
feeling better and then yeah.
Yeah, because that's how it had gone. Like, I could have a couple of good years or mediocre years, getting
Hmm.
by, and then I'd crash, and then I'd get a little bit better, and then crash.
Sure.
And so that's probably the time that I questioned Julia the most. Okay, how am I going to get better? And how am I going to stay better? Um, But she was right, and I haven't crashed. I followed the protocols, and they work, and they've kept me well. And so, full circle moment of all of it. Um, I decided, well, she's so confident. I'm just going to take every class that she's ever taken to know for myself if I can do
Right,
this, you know, like
right.
what to do
Wow.
when I crash. And so at that time, Dr. Cabral was opening up the Health Practitioner Institute, and level one and level two were an easy choice for me. Um, I was not studying to be a practitioner of any kind at that point. The whole idea of the health coach in every home definitely rang true to me.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is true. And we need help.
Yeah.
And so anything that Dr. Cabral was, able to share and willing to share, I was open to learning and loved every bit of truth that I could build on. And then he opened up Mastery and said, "Hey, I'm ready to teach this new class." And I really wanted to do it. I wanted to study it. I wanted to learn more. I was just so thirsty for knowledge. And yet at the same time, it was a lot of money, and I didn't even have a practice, and I wasn't planning to practice.
Sure.
And so it didn't really make sense. And I thought, if I just tell my husband that I'm thinking about this, he'll surely say it's too much money and we're not going to worry about it, Then I don't have to think about it anymore. But I mentioned it to my husband. I knew the exact time of registration closing. And my husband just looked at me and he said, "Well, you should definitely take that class." And so I did. I enrolled. And before that class was over, I had um, an LLC of my own, and Veggies and Villi was born. So that's when I knew that all the 25 years of sickness wasn't for naught, that there was a bigger plan at play, and that because of my journey and the things that I'd learned all through the ups and downs, the hard and the good and all of it, um, that I had knowledge and skills to help other people.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
honestly, I was already helping other people. So to have a practice just became a formality.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you were your toughest case. I mean, maybe that's not true. Maybe you've encountered other people, but I mean, just hearing I had only known a tiny portion of your story, which I already thought was amazing. Now I know your full story, which is incredible, but just hearing how long it took and how many setbacks you had and how many, doctors and just hurdles you had to go like clear. Um, it sounds like you were your toughest client to start. And then if you can help yourself, it probably gives you confidence to say, well, if I can help myself, I can help other people because, it's almost like playing the game on hard to start and then, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah, so that definitely answers a couple of my questions I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
It's
don't know if
kind of
you
a
were
long
done.
story, but
I don't know
you
if you
got
were
that
done or
part.
not. I didn't mean to cut you off if you're not done. You can continue, but
No, go ahead.
no, okay. No, that's phenomenal. I mean, that what an inspiring like origin story, and it definitely explains how someone who has like no nothing to do with integrative health to start becomes someone with 16 letters after their name and basically an expert in the field. I mean, especially in IHP3 inaugural class. I mean, it's something we didn't even offer last year, and you're
Yeah.
already certified in it. So, I mean, it's just extremely impressive. So I just want to get into a couple questions on like the business end of things.
Yep.
And again, like some of the questions I was going to ask. I mean, I, one of the things I wanted to know is like what any kind of trepidations you had in starting your business. But and I'll let you answer. But just to me, listening to your story, I feel like coming from where you came from a health standpoint, if you were able to conquer that, probably not much else seems that scary. Am I right? Or is that
Well, to
to
some
me,
extent, yes.
to me that that's
Although,
that's how it would feel. If I conquered what
yeah,
you conquered, I'd be like, what this is nothing compared to what I've already done, right?
yes and no. Like, it's interesting how we are in our heads.
Yeah.
Um, when I was in mastery, we were learning that we needed to create a network of people in our area so that we had referrals, and not just in our area, right? But we see clients from around the world. So,
Sure.
who are the people that you refer your clients to when they need extra help? Um, And in that process, we were told like it's great to have a counselor or a therapist that someone can talk to.
Hmm.
EMDR therapy is a great addition to helping these chronic things. And I thought, well, I have some stuff. Maybe I should just go find some counselors and I can work on this stuff and then I'll have some referrals, right? That is how mastery became so life-changing for me because I did find people in my area and I was my most important client at that time. And and I still am, right? Like you have
Yeah.
to take care of you
Yeah.
always
Everybody, you're
so
always,
you can take care of other people. So
yes,
keep your
exactly.
therapists close and keep whoever you need closer because there's a whole world that needs our help, and we have to be strong to support them. But in the beginning, I thought, okay, I obviously have some challenges. My biggest hurdle at that time was that I knew that my body felt good on a certain day, right? Like I felt good today, and I was grateful for that day. But for me to make an appointment 2 weeks from now or a month from now on a Thursday, I had a lot of anxiety about that. I didn't trust that I would be well enough to commit to something so far in advance. And so that's actually where I was at with mastery. I was creating now a business and thinking, I don't know. I don't know if I can book a client and trust my body
Oh,
and
wow.
trust my
That's
health.
super interesting.
Yeah. And if I increase the stress level of my life by building this practice,
Hmm.
then I have to up my game even more, which I was already invested, right? With
Right.
all the protocols and the energy and all of that that's going towards healing. Then I was going to up the stress level a whole bunch and
Right. Right.
invite people in when I felt really vulnerable. And so that was probably my biggest hurdle.
Got it. Yeah, that's one I haven't heard before, but it's super interesting. So you basically weren't trusting your progress fully
Yep.
yet to say I
Yes.
can start a business and scale and start helping people, and you were anxious about, well, what if I get sick again?
Yeah. And what
And
if I put my health back in jeopardy?
yeah, or right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. That, like I said, that's an answer I haven't heard before, but I mean, it's really important, especially for most people. Um, Not everyone has had such an extreme health struggle as you have, but almost everybody in this community was spurred by some sort of health struggle to seek integrative help. So it's very common that people have solved their own health struggles first, and then they go on to become health coaches and help other folks. So that's a really relevant and interesting point that you bring up because I'm sure that I haven't heard it personally, but it doesn't mean I'm sure other people have struggled with the same thing where they
Mm-hmm.
were like, maybe I just need to focus all my attention on just maintaining my own health and not, start spreading myself too thin or adding to my toxic load and my stress, by doing other
Yep.
things. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I appreciate you
I
sharing that.
did. I was just recently talking to a friend about my new initials behind my name. She's like, "Hey, so you have new ones, and what's that?" I just graduated a couple weeks ago, and um, I said basically the letters behind my name um, mean that I was really desperate. I was really looking for help,
Hmm.
and just slowly I gathered it wherever I could. But I told her, I said, I feel a lot like the little caterpillar in the children's book that we read, the very hungry caterpillar,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
he just searches and he just needs more and more and more. And that's how I was for knowledge and help because I knew I couldn't stay as I was. But in mastery, I found that chrysalis of that space when I closed in and thought, I am safe. I am well and I can do this. And that I wanted it to stay closed.
Yeah.
And God whispered louder. That's what I say. He just whispered louder. He said, you really have to do more. And so I really feel like that unfolding of wings and trusting that you can fly, it does resonate with most of the practitioners that I know.
Yeah.
We talk about imposter syndrome in our
Yeah.
community a lot,
That one
right?
that's usually the typical answer I get when I ask
Yeah,
about accommodations. And I'm sure it was true for you too. But that's
yeah,
why I said that's a very interesting answer because normally it's like, well, I just didn't think I could do it, you know.
yeah,
And maybe you had some of that too, but yours was even deeper where like if I do it, am I gonna not be well again?
yep,
And
yeah.
that's
And
really
can I
scary.
be enough? Is there enough of me to share?
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's really scary. And obviously you've proven you can, which is awesome. I mean, you went from barely being able to walk to, healing yourself and now healing others. And,
Mhm.
you look like you're in great health now, hopefully. So
Yes, I feel great.
no, that's great. That's great.
A
I'm really
blessing.
happy to
Health
hear
is a
that.
blessing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. So I'm just going to touch on a couple other things because this does coincide with our 100-day challenge, which you're doing really well with again, and you actually have been a winner in the past. So, that's super exclusive to be a past winner. Um, so like how do you strike the balance between helping your clients and making sure that your business is financially viable? Because we talked about this a little bit before we started recording actually, that like, most people do need some sort of financial viability because the world we live in now, unfortunately, is not one where you can sit around for 8 hours a day working on a hobby. Or
Yeah.
most people. Some people maybe have that luxury, but most people don't have that luxury. That's the reality. Regardless of what socioeconomic background you're from, most people can't just sit around and do things for pleasure. So, how do you strike that balance?
Yeah. So it's really just come together organically, really. I didn't think that I'd take on very many clients in the beginning. Thought if this is small, that's okay. It can stay small. I didn't need a practice, right? But it has just grown and grown. And I think the biggest part of it is just that um, I haven't pushed anything. I have been there to support people as they've come to me. And you will see on my social media very few posts, very few anything. Like, I think there's birthday wishes on my Facebook page. That's about it.
Right.
Um, and that's something that should come in time. But up to this point, my business has just grown by one person at a time who needed help. And they come to me with the mix of supplements that they've gathered from Walgreens and
Yep.
a friend and
Hmm.
a doctor or whatever. And they're like, man, I feel really crummy and I'm trying these and they don't do anything. I'm like, well, number one, it's not the best product, And
Right.
number two, like you're not taking enough or it's not balanced and all the things.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but if they have high quality supplements, which a lot of people do come to me and they've been to um, a lot of functional medicine doctors and naturopaths, and they have good things. Sometimes they have a lot of good things, right? A whole kitchen pantry full, and yet they still feel really crummy.
Hmm.
One of the tools that I have utilized has been muscle testing. And that's a skill that I learned years ago from a naturopath when I needed to figure out, like, she could figure out what my kid needed to sleep through the night. But I wanted to have that tool in the middle of the night. And so I learned to muscle test a long time ago, and I utilize that in my practice so I can test their product. And they'll hold it up and say, well, I don't know. Like, I have this one. Is this the right magnesium? We'll test it and we'll say, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 5.
Mm.
And we're looking for the best. So let's keep going. Let's test, right? If something's above a 7, I will keep it in their protocol until they've used it up. And then we'll replace it with
Yeah,
something better.
That's
But
interesting. That's like something tangible that you can point to.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it helps them know that their body is unique. It needs something specific, and we can match that need with what they need most. So, um, that's, I think by me being open to using lots of brands, lots of things, like let's use what you have, pull it to, pull what you have out, let's see it, let's use it. If it's not working for your body, this is why. And then let's replace it with something even better. And so that's how I work. And I do utilize a lot of other brands, and I have an active full script account that's used a lot. Um, but yes, I do show up on the leaderboard. And sometimes I just kind of smile at it because I'm just doing things one client at a time. And I'm just trying to serve them the very best I can. But it speaks a lot to what a great product we have in Equal Life products, because a lot of people test really well for those.
Mm,
Um, it's the 10
absolutely.
out of 10. If we're looking for the best option, there's a good, better, best. And Equal Life shows up as the best. And so that's an easy answer for them, right? Like, well, I want that one. Let me know how I can order it and let's do this. Um, that's how that's come together. So there's
Okay.
so much business wise that I feel like I could grow. There's really limitless potential in the company we're in, which is amazing. Um, and I've probably just scratched the surface, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super interesting. To me, it sounds like you have like a truly holistic approach, and maybe that allows your recommendations to hold more weight, I guess, for
Mhm.
your clients, and then they end up following your recommendations. Because if someone is coming at you from like with an open mind and we're trying to get the best thing for you, or if you can't afford the best, we'll do the better one and whatever, just completely tailored to what they need. It's probably a higher success rate and a higher what's the word I'm looking for? There's like a term for it, adherence rate. I don't know if that's the right term, but not only is it important to treat and get people on the right supplements and protocols and whatnot, but it's also important that they maintain them, they adhere to them.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things with like the 7-day detox. It's supposed to be simple so people can adhere to it, because if they don't adhere to it, then it's not going to work. Like, if you do it for one day, that's
Yep.
great, but you need to do it longer than that. So there's always like a balance between, the ideal treatment and the one that people are going to stick with. And, it sounds like that you strike that balance really well just based on your answers. And that probably translates financially because people will take your recommendations and then you'll earn commissions, or however you structure your business. I don't know if you do sessions and whatnot,
Yeah.
and charge that way. Yeah, but yeah, okay. That's really interesting. And I think that's an answer that a lot of people are gonna like to hear, because most people in this community are not in it to just peddle supplements and make money. It's not the point. And I mean, I would say 95% of folks, that's they're not looking to do that. Pretty much anyone I've ever talked to hasn't. So I think that's a nice answer to hear, that you just try to treat the client as best you can and as honestly and open-mindedly as you can, and then it kind of the financial end kind of works itself out, so to speak, right?
Yeah, it does. And I teach clients, like, we are in our bodies for a long time.
Hmm.
And we live in a toxic world, a
Yeah,
toxic and depleted world. Our soil's depleted, our water's dirty, all the things. And so we don't need a ton of supplements every day once we've been through a healing journey, but we need some supplements every day. And I think that's been something that's carried me, because over the summer, honestly, and it's interesting that the 100-day challenge falls in the summertime
yeah,
when I am scheduling less and less with clients. They're off doing their summer things and I'm doing mine. And it's the
right.
time that I spend with family and my kids. and there are sales happening. Um, so those foundational protocols, people keep ordering, right?
Mm,
And I have new people coming all the time. It is word of mouth. That's how my practice has grown.
yep.
And so somebody runs a lab, they get answers, they get information, they start to feel better. You have somebody else that wants to run a lab.
Right,
And
right.
so the
Yeah,
business
that's a
has
common one.
grown in spite of me in a lot of, it's just been this natural process of I am here to help. And there are wonderful protocols and labs to use and share and people get better.
Yeah,
So then it sells itself.
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say in spite of you because you're obviously helping people.
Yeah, I
And if
do
you
show
weren't,
up and I am me. And
yeah,
that's what they get all of me
right.
for the time that we spend together and they change. They get better.
Yeah, because if you weren't helping people, then they wouldn't be telling other people about their experience.
No.
You know, the word of mouth only works if it works, or if
Right.
what you're doing works.
That's
It could
very
be
true.
it could be the other end of the coin too, where it's not working and people say, "Don't use her." I
Yes.
wasted $1,000 and I got nowhere or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I will say that I started my business just focusing on kids' gut health. That's where
okay.
I wanted to stay. I thought, yeah, I can choose a small area, kids' gut health, that's what I'm going to do. Well, it turns out kids can turn things around pretty quickly, and
Yeah.
their changes are dramatic, right? You go from a really sick baby that's influencing an entire family and really worrying a mom. Um, you can help that baby or child get better pretty quickly. And
Yeah,
then
kids
you
are
have,
resilient.
yeah, kids are resilient and strong.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see them turn things around. But then you have a mom that asks, wait a second, can you help me?
Yeah.
And if you help a mom and a kid, then you either have a husband or a grandparent somewhere in that family that also wants help
Sure.
uh, and wants answers and wants something deeper than what they've had. And so my client range of ages is very big. I have elderly and even like newborns. So
Um,
um, it is such a rewarding, wonderful place to be. I feel lucky that it's something that also brings in money. It's and there's so much more potential
yep.
for growth and the business side of it. There's so much more.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of our community and mainly it's because our community just wants to help people. And that also extends to ambassadors or providers helping other providers, letting them know what works. Um, and part of that is they want to help people and it's not, it's competitive in the sense that people are trying to go up the leaderboard and that's always good and competition's never a bad thing, but it's not competitive in that, I want to beat this person or, they be, and a lot of that stems from what you're talking about and that there's such a need for this.
yeah,
And nobody I've talked to has sat there and said, "Well, it's a shrinking industry, and I need to maintain my profits, so I can't reveal this, this what works for me because they're like there's room for everybody and then some because there's such a need, like you said, a health coach in every home, and whether it's a mother or a husband or a grandparent, there's usually somebody, if not multiple people in every family that could probably use a health coach. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. Just a couple more questions for you. Um, this is a little bit of an ambassador type chat, so I did want to ask you, like, what's the biggest perk of being in the ambassador program, from your standpoint?
I think the biggest perk is having access to these amazing labs and products for myself. When I decided I could start an LLC, I could do a business, I could coach a few people. My goal in that was maybe I can cover the cost of the supplements that my family's using,
Mm,
even if I just make that much and pay for my education, right? Like,
sure, sure.
be fine. So of course, to have access to these labs and products for our family is so great, and to feel the benefits of these products, even better. Um, but then also just um, to be able to share the labs is probably one of my favorite perks, because it was the secret that unlocked my health. After 25 years, nobody had figured it out, right? And not entirely. They'd found answers in pieces, I should say that. But to really put it all together, that came through the information of these labs. So that's an awesome perk. You
Yeah.
have somebody that comes, um, they come, they're really sick, they got all these mystery things. And because I know these products and these labs so well, I trust them, and I am confident that we can find answers. So it doesn't matter how sick they are or how complicated it's been, I feel pretty confident
Yeah.
that we can help them. And I
Like
know I can.
like Julia was
So
confident for you initially.
yeah,
It's kind
yeah.
of you're kind of in that position now.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
learned that we're supposed to hold hope and
Right.
confidence for
Sure.
these clients while they don't have any of their own.
Sure.
And I feel like with the labs and the products that we have, the protocols as they're given, um, it's easier to feel confident. That's a perk.
Yeah.
That's a definite perk. Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. And then just wanted to ask for someone, because every year we have I'm heads down deep into this program every single day. It's what I do. So I know a lot of the people personally, like you, and I know a lot of folks. I know folks' names, and maybe just I don't know them, but I know their names because I'm looking in the numbers every day and trying to figure out ways to make the program more engaging and grow the program and help more people. And every year, especially in the 100-day challenge, because we're tracking it weekly and we're seeing who's kind of making their move up the leaderboard. And every year I see folks who are pretty new to the program who are launching their business, and then all of a sudden they're doing really well, like right out of the gate. And some people it's a slower burn, and that's fine too. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but there are people every year that really impress me, and like, I know when they joined the program, they joined it 2 months ago, and now they've already earned four, five, $6,000, and that's pretty impressive. So my point in saying that is, I'm wondering, as someone who's had a lot of success in the program, what would you recommend, or what would be your advice to someone who's on the fence about diving in and starting their business? And what would be your advice for some quick wins or to have some success from your standpoint? Because it is
Yeah.
possible. That's my point. I know it's possible. I see it all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think my quick wins came in the beginning, as I started to use the products, right? My first initial introduction was, I need these labs. Well, I didn't get credit for the labs at that time. And if you're
Right.
already a part of the ambassador program, then you're going to get credit for
Yeah.
the things that you're trying and using. And I would encourage you to just try them, use them, run the labs on yourself. Use that investment as part of your education, and you
Mm.
will get some of the kickback through ambassador
Right. The
program, right?
commission. Yeah.
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 So um, that is not a bad way to start out. Use it, order the protocols, feel what it feels like in your body when you are starting to um, experience the changes that come to your own body, or maybe it's a child that you have that needs the CBO protocol, or a nephew, or wherever these connections are in your life. I wouldn't say go to all your friends and family. That is not my best advice. And I would encourage you not to actually reach outside of that, but um, be willing to share the basic protocols. Our most basic protocol that's easiest to share is a 7-day detox. Everyone benefits. Um, If you see a kid with rashes or um, a tummy ache or a headache, anyone that's struggling in the school, um, if you're a person that hangs out in the school and you know these little kiddos that struggle, you have tools to help. So don't be afraid to share what you know and introduce a protocol. You can start there. As you introduce protocols, they build on each other, right?
Mhm.
We all need a heavy metal detox. We all need a parasite cleanse. My kids know that they go back to school and they get a parasite cleanse. We play in lakes and rivers all summer long. We love it. And we cleanse.
Yeah.
That is part of our lifestyle and it helps us stay well. So, um, do those things that are foundational. Do, the detoxes with adults and get kids on things that work for them too. Um, we have so many options. Just dive in, find a need and fill it. There's a protocol that would fill it.
Yeah. No, that's another piece of advice that I haven't heard before that's really, really helpful and interesting, I think. In that you can look at buying a lot of these supplements and protocols, even if you're using it on yourself or maybe a close family member or something, you can look at it as part of your education, so the investment, it's a little might be a little easier to justify the investment if you're looking at it as like it's an extension of my IHP certification. It's almost like a lab. Like, in school you used to do like a lab, like it was practical. Now you're kind of
Yes.
applying it and it's practical and it's kind of like the practical part of your education.
Yep.
I think that's a really interesting way to look at it, and I think it's helpful because um, if the certification was a couple more $100, would that be the point where people were like, no, I can't do it? Probably not. If you're gonna do it, it's probably not gonna be the point where you're gonna say, no, not for me if it's $300-400 more. I'm just throwing numbers out there, but I'm just saying, like, if
Yep.
you think of
So
some
true.
supplements and protocols, as a couple extra $100 that you may need, I'm sure it'll help you. But if
Hmm.
you look at it as part of an extension of your education, um, I think that's a really good way to look at it. And then, as you said, you get your commissions on that too. So that's a good jumping off point.
Yeah. And then it gives you more credibility, more things to speak to as people are using fluorofilm and, you can
Yeah.
say it's like this. And for universal binder, have you ever opened a capsule? Have you tasted it? Do you know what the kids capsules, like in the kids and children's protocols, the ones that we say we can open up and put with food, do you know what it tastes like?
Mm,
Can you describe that to a mom when they have a kid that's super picky about foods? Those things add credibility and
yeah.
value to what you can offer. Like, hey, I've been here. I've put this in a bowl of applesauce before. I know what it tastes like. I know what it's going to be like, and I can speak to that.
Yeah.
So include it as your education. That's how you should start.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like it also you already answered it, so I didn't ask you directly, but I was gonna ask you about how do you combat like a skepticism, people thinking you're just recommending supplements just to earn money and stuff. And I think the fact that you can point to, I took it and it tastes like this and it did this for me,
Mhm.
that's like it lends so much credibility to you that you're not just pushing pills,
Yeah.
to
Yep.
not to be crass, but that's how some people look at it, especially from the outside. Obviously, it's not what you're doing. Um, but yeah, to say like, I used this last year and this was my experience, and yeah, I think that's like invaluable credibility that you lend to yourself and your recommendations.
Yeah. And I haven't just tasted Equalife products. For a
Right.
lot of years, I was using a lot of things.
Right, and
So
that gives you credibility too, because it's not like,
it
oh,
does.
well, you're just, basically a shill for this company, or
Yes.
you're
Yep.
you're saying I'm going to recommend what works the best. And if it's from
Yep.
this company, it's this. If it's from this company, it's this.
Yep. And
Yeah.
if you like chocolate, you can do it this way. And if you prefer berries, we can do it this way.
Hmm.
And we make it work. And I tell people all the time, the very best protocol for you is the one you will actually do.
Right.
One you will
Back to the
follow
adherence.
is the best one.
Yeah.
So, what does that need to look like? And turns out once they get started and they start to feel better, they're open to other protocols,
Right, right.
open to doing a little bit more. They decide, oh, maybe I can take more than 6 capsules a day. Um, and their health improves. But
Yeah.
it takes time. And I think um, that being patient with that process and not pushing things on people, just knowing, or just, I just remind them, like, I'm here when you're ready. And until then, follow this and we'll
Yeah.
talk more. Like, there's always more we can do. Um, we're in our bodies for a really long time.
Yeah. Well, Emily, this was unbelievable. I can't thank you enough for how open you were about your personal story and um, really just the details you shared about your journey and how that has brought you to the place you are now, where basically you're just an expert in all of this stuff at this point because you've done everything yourself. You've been through, you were like probably the toughest case you will have to encounter was yourself. And you got well. And the credibility and I get the respect that probably garners from you, from your clients and from our community when they watch this is going to be awesome. So thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy and I appreciate you taking time to talk to me today.
You're so welcome. It was great to visit and it's good to share our stories. I've been kind of quiet about it actually for a long time, and I have felt more and more like I need to share. So thank you for giving me an opportunity. Hopefully that it does resonate with someone and give someone else the confidence to move forward and just be part of the awesome opportunity we have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Emily, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you.